The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the 2019 live webinar for FIE's Conflict and the Struggle for Peace program. My name is Grahaeme Hesp. I am based in the Midwest United States, and I am FIE's Regional Director for Institutional Relations, taking care of all of our partner campuses from North Dakota down to Texas and across to Ohio. I also oversee the US side of our amazing peace and conflict program. Joining us today on the webinar are Dr. Julie Andreshak-Behrman, FIE's Chief Academic Officer based in FIE's London operation, and then also Evan Grathwohl from DePauw University in Indiana, who was on the program this past summer. To give you a quick overview of what will be happening in the next 30 minutes or so, we're going to talk about obviously the key part of the program, which is the academics, but also the co-curricular experiences and study tours. We're going to look at housing, health and safety. An important part of the program is also how are you going to pay for it, so funding and scholarships. We're going to hear from Evan and his experience last year, and then be able to take some of your live questions, and then we'll look at the next steps as to what is out there. On your GoToMeeting session block that you should be looking at on your computer, you should see a question area. So please type your questions into that text box at all times, and then towards the end of the session, if we haven't answered your question just by going through our presentation, then we will specifically I will call on either Evan or Julie to answer those specific questions. So to give you an overview, and I'm sure many of you are aware of the program already, but it is a 5-week program. It starts in Dublin, Ireland, and then continues on to Amman, Jordan. And it's important to remember that the round-trip flight from Dublin to Amman, back to Dublin again, is included in the program fee. There is also an intensive Arabic language option for an additional 4 weeks, and that would make the full extended program a total of 9 weeks. Inclusions in the program: academics, including your transcript from FIE's US School of Record, Drexel University in Philadelphia. You will be met at Dublin and Amman airports and transported to your housing. Your housing is included throughout the entire program. Some of your meals in Jordan, some of your meals in Dublin, most of your meals when we're on the study tour to the north of Ireland, and I'll talk a little bit more about that. Most of your meals in Jordan, and again, that round trip flight between Dublin and Amman. There will be a small travel stipend in Amman to offset the cost of taking a cab from your homestay to or from Ahmed East. Public transportation, they're getting there, but public transportation is not as good as it is in the US or certainly in Europe. And then when you return to Dublin from Amman, there will be an overnight hotel stay in Dublin before you then get your own flight back to the US. FIE grade eligibility at 2.75 overall. If you are doing the upper level Arabic, then you need an overall B or higher in your Arabic classes. But please remember that your home campus may require a higher GPA and some other prerequisites. So be sure to check with your own study abroad advisor. So looking at the program and who is putting it on, FIE, if you don't know, is a London-based not-for-profit study abroad organization, and we've been providing academic opportunities and internships for students in London, Dublin, and Amman since 1998. So we've just celebrated our 20th anniversary. Ahmed East is the FIE partner in Jordan and is the leading non-profit organization dealing with international education in the Middle East and North Africa. And they have been around since 1951. And if you're not aware, this will actually be the 9th year of the Peace and Conflict program. So now I'm going to hand over to Julie to give you an idea of the academic structure and some of our co-curriculars.
Great. Hi. Welcome, everyone. So Graham's kind of did a overview of the schedule. On this slide, you can see the actual dates that have been set for the 2019 program. And you can see that just knowing that it's 5 weeks and 2 courses, it's quite intensive. Okay, you get a lot out of it, but your academic focus is really important in the program. There's a lot of variety. You're arriving in Dublin. You're kind of getting stuck in right away to your courses, and then you're not in Dublin for that long of a time before you're going to be out in Northern Ireland, in Derry and Belfast, and some bits in between, and that's going to add significantly to the understanding of the conflicts there historically and sort of the current situation. And you're going from Dublin to Amman as a group on the 15th of June, so arriving in Dublin on the 2nd of June, departing Dublin on the 15th of June. As you can see, you'll have your course in Amman, and again, there are co-curricular activities, excursions that are also associated with the program there. They're really the things that you would most want to see if you were on any sort of a program in Jordan. So those are really, really important activities. And you're looking at departing from Jordan, if you're just doing the peace and conflict, on the 6th of July. And as Graham's already mentioned, you're in a hotel back in Dublin. It's not possible very easily to fly all in one day. So as an inclusion in your program, you're in a hotel near the airport and then flying out the next day. If you choose, which the majority of students do, to stay on for the Arabic language program, as Graham said, that's an additional 4 weeks, and we offer the Arabic at every level. The only caveat is we need at least 3 students to do the beginning Arabic, but it's always been able to run when we've needed to. So, just if you're a zero beginner, we just might need to make sure that we have the cohort, but it's never been a problem. So you're arriving in Amman. I'm sorry, you're staying in Amman then for an additional 4 weeks of classes, and then the same applies at the departure point on the 6th of August, staying in Dublin for a night and departing on the 7th.
And Julie, if you want to continue with the academic overview and the 2 faculty that we have.
Great. So, as I said, it's an intensive program, and that intensity is really enhanced by the fact that you have access to, and I'm sure Evan will have something to say about this as well, 2 amazing faculty members who have been sort of hands-on in each region of the world. One is on the European side is Dr. Paul Arthur, who's a preeminent scholar and practitioner in international conflict resolution. He's Professor Emeritus of Politics at the University of Ulster, and he's also been the director of the graduate program in peace and conflict studies there. He's worked directly on the Irish Good Friday Peace Accords and the South African Peace and Reconciliation Program. A very humble man with a very big background, and students might not know him going into the program, but you'll be sort of dazzled by him, as well as Dr. Omar Rifai, who is our faculty member in Amman, Jordan, and he's coming from a diplomatic background, serving as the Director of Arab Affairs in the United Nations office in Amman. He's also served as the Executive Director of the Amman-based West Asia North Africa Forum, President of the Jordan Institute of Diplomacy, Secretary General of the Jordanian Foreign Ministry, as a member of the Jordanian delegation to the Jordan-Israel peace talks in 1994, and in some ways, most significantly, the first ambassador to Israel when diplomatic relations were forged between Israel and Jordan. So two really excellent faculty that you're going to work with in both parts of the program. It is, as I said, academically intensive. You're going to start off doing a bit of pre-reading that's going to be all explained to you in due course. That'll really get you sort of hit the ground running. And we'll start you off for the Dublin course, which is called Life Cycle of Peace and Conflict, Lessons Learned in Northern Ireland. And the Amman course is Conflict Resolution and Management Beyond the Arab-Israeli Conflict. So there you're going to be looking at, as the title suggests, conflicts beyond sort of just the Arab-Israeli conflict, which is obviously extremely important in the region, but tribal conflicts and other regional conflicts that all add to the complexity of the Middle East situation. Shall I go on to?
Yes, please.
Okay, so as we were just saying, we also offer the Arabic language option, 4 weeks, and you're getting exposure to Modern Standard Arabic as well as Jordanian Arabic. So Jordanian Arabic, if you don't know, the colloquial Arabic is the day-to-day dialect that's spoken all over Jordan, and then the Modern Standard is, as it suggests, the Arabic that you learn so that you can communicate and read across the Arab-speaking world. It's 80 hours of the Modern Standard and 20 of the Jordanian Arabic. You're also, of course, not only learning in a really interactive Arabic environment, but you'll have the opportunity, of course, to be in a real-life Arabic-speaking situation on the streets of Jordan, but also in a homestay. So that's going to really enhance your ability to learn the language, irrespective of what level you come into it at.
Thank you, Julie. So, as we talked about, the co-curricular experiences and study tours are key components of both the program in Dublin and in Amman. And they're included in the program fee that you'll be paying. So we start off in Dublin with a political walking tour, getting to get an idea of historic Dublin city centre sites, such as Leinster House, which is the home of the Irish Parliament, going to Glasnevin Cemetery, where many of the original pre-Easter Sunday 1916 uprising involved people are buried, going to Kilmainham Jail, which is where many of those Easter Sunday 1916 people were actually executed by the British government. We go on a 3-day excursion to Northern Ireland, and we visit Derry/Londonderry, and you will learn how important that slash is depending on which side of the Troubles people you're talking to. We then go to Belfast, a visit to Stormont Castle, which is the home of the devolved Northern Ireland Assembly of the United Kingdom. going on a mural tour and seeing the different paintings. You saw some of them on the photographs there, that mean so much to different sides of the people in the Troubles. We start in Amman with a city tour going to the citadel, high on the cliff top overlooking the city, looking down into an absolutely amazing Roman amphitheater, going back thousands of years to seeing where some of these troubles started with the biblical Jordan tour. On the left there, you're seeing a photograph of a church in Madaba, and what's on the ground there is actually a painted piece of a mural showing the travels of somebody who was around at the time, Jesus. So this church is kind of how we know that there was somebody called Jesus who was traveling around the area 2,000 years ago. We then go to Mount Nebo, which is where Moses finally saw the promised land and then proceeded to drop down dead. The middle, and that's the right-hand photograph there, looking across from what is now Jordan, across the Dead Sea into what is now Israel, the promised land. And then that middle photograph is the Dead Sea. On the horizon there, you see how close Israel is to Jordan. And it is, if you've never done that before, it is the strangest experience I think you will ever have of floating, but not quite floating. It's just weird. We then have an overnight excursion, which is also involved in that academic part of the program. So you may have heard of Lawrence of Arabia. What you may not know is Lawrence of Arabia, a British military person, actually asked the Bedouin to help overthrow the Ottoman Empire that controlled the entire area. The Bedouin volunteered. They successfully overthrew the Ottoman Empire, which resulted in the creation of modern-day Turkey, except the British reneged on their promise for the Bedouin to get their own country. So we actually get to stay with the Bedouin in Wadi Rum Desert. And you probably have seen Wadi Rum Desert if you've seen any of the movies like Transformers, like The Martian, that big red land that looks like Mars. That is Wadi Rum Desert. So we can go on a camel ride. We will stay with the Bedouin overnight, and then we spend the next day going back 5,000 years to what we think were the first people in the area, and that is experiencing the amazing Petra. So housing is included throughout the entire program. In Dublin, students have stayed in purpose-built student residences before. They have also stayed in a hotel. We are finalizing those details right now. I imagine that you, just like with Evan's year last summer, students will be in student residences. During your time in Jordan, you will live with a Jordanian family. Families usually host 2 students at a time. They provide meals throughout the program, and those families could be Christians or they could be Muslims. All of those families are obviously screened by Ahmed East, and many of them have been providing homestay experiences for students for 5, 10, 25 years, sometimes even longer. Obviously, when we're on the study tour in Northern Ireland, then we're staying in guest houses, hotels, bed and breakfasts throughout that experience. Health and safety, well-being are of the utmost importance to all of us here at FIE and our friends at Ahmed East. Through extensive preparation, orientations, our friendly staff, we're going to ensure that you are fully supported throughout your entire experience. Both FIE and Ahmed East have extensive emergency response plans, and in the unlikely event of a city or countrywide emergency, when we will follow those, and specific information will be provided to program participants both during both of the pre-departure orientations. During your stay in Dublin, you'll have travel and health insurance from FIE's insurance carrier, Ensley. And while in Jordan, Ahmed East will provide medical and accident insurance through CISI, which also provides natural disaster and political evacuation coverage if that is needed. Once on the program, the FIE and Ahmed East program staff will help you deal with any medical issues as they arise. Both of us have a list of recommended providers, pharmacies, hospitals in the host cities and the areas visited on excursions. In addition, while in Jordan, you will be provided with basically a burner local cell phone. So you will be able to stay in touch with each other, with Ahmed East, through phone calls and with texts. About a year ago, the US State Department completely revamped its travel advisory system. It now follows the sort of standard sort of traffic light 1, 2, 3, 4 type system that we've come to recognize. What is nice is Jordan is at level 2, and basically that is saying do not travel to the Syrian or Iraqi border. As I mentioned, this is the 9th year of the Peace and Conflict program, and actually since day 1, FIE and Ahmed East have said do not travel to the Syrian or Iraqi border, do not travel to any refugee camps. So we're kind of happy to say that actually the US State Department has caught up with what we have been saying since the start of this program. You should feel comfortable and having the conversation with your parents that level 2 is the same level as most of Western Europe. So if you or your parents are comfortable with you going to France or to Germany or to the United Kingdom, then Jordan is that exact same level as those European countries. Importantly, funding and scholarships. Remember next Friday, February 15th. Importantly, remember midnight London time. So anyone on the call from the West Coast, that is 4 p.m. Friday afternoon on the West Coast. That is the deadline for the Sharif Rahman Conflict and the Struggle for Peace Scholarship. And everyone on this call should be applying for that scholarship.
Yeah.
Don't forget to also apply for any home campus scholarships. And they could be through your study abroad office. They could be through your campus foundation or through your campus alumni association. As Julie mentioned, most of our students actually participate in the Arabic language extension. And if you are doing that, there is also an Ahmed East scholarship. If you are a Pell Grant recipient, then you should be also applying for the US State Department's Gilman Scholarship. And this is a little bit specific, but if you are a STEM major who is then staying on for the Arabic language extension, then I would encourage you to apply for the US State Department's Boren Scholarship if you are an undergraduate. There are multiple other scholarships available. We have information on the FIE website under our scholarships tab, but also chat with your parents. Maybe they are a member of the local Rotary Club. Are you a member of a fraternity or sorority? Many organizations have study abroad scholarships. So just be checking all of those multiple opportunities for different funding sources. And now I'll turn it over to Evan. You see a quote, a citation from Evan there. But Evan, talk about your experience. What were your thoughts of the courses, the faculty, the academic rigor that Julie talked about?
So about the courses and the rigor and the faculty, I thought it was just the perfect balance of all of that. Start with the faculty. You know, in Ireland, it's just a great experience having someone who is actually really a part of the program or a part of the peace process, and learning from him was something that you don't really get at, out of a textbook. Like Paul Arthur, he'll just be able to tell you stories that, are honestly classified, and he would tone it down for us. And, and then with Omar Rafai, he would do the same thing. He was always curious to hear what we had to say about what we think about, the U.S., I guess, diplomacy situation now, but then he would always also relate it to what he experienced in 1994 with the peace talks that he was an integral part of. And then with the rigor in Ireland, it was great because there was reading, every night, but it was just enough that, we could still go out, in Dublin every night and have fun. And then in Northern Ireland, that was probably one of my favorite parts of the entire trip because you got to see how real the conflict still is. And it's really not over. And that was just an eye-opening experience for me, just in day-to-day conversations with the people, people correcting you when you say Derry versus Londonderry, and like how they sort of get contentious sometimes. And then in Jordan, I had the experience later when I was on the Arabic extension, and I got to go across the border into Israel. So after having learned everything about the conflict, I went on to cross the border and drive through the West Bank, and I was visiting my friend in Tel Aviv, and it was just sort of a good, it encapsulated the experience for me, and it was just a great experience. And then the next thing I've been asked to talk to you guys about is the homestays in Jordan. Since I'm a male, I stayed with a Christian family. It was a older couple, no kids. They had grandkids that came to the house. They provided basically every meal for me. And it was just great. I could talk to them every night, practice my Arabic. And also my host dad, he was someone who was kicked out of Jerusalem in 1949. So he was able to share some of his insights with us. Even though he was Christian, he wasn't Muslim. And then about safety in Jordan, I never felt unsafe. It's really, the level 2 is really just a placeholder, since it is next to some unsafe countries. But I was walking all across town, every day. Every taxi that I got into, they'd say, "Where are you from?" And you'd say, in Arabic, "Ana Amriki," so I'm American. And they'd be like, "You are welcome." Every single taxi said that. So I never felt unsafe there. And then,
Evan, just before you move ahead from that, obviously I think that there's some dynamic there of being a male. How did the women you were with on the program, how did they feel about safety?
Yeah, so it was, honestly, there was some adjusting because it was different. I don't know how much you all have learned about the situation for women in Jordan, but it's, they do have a problem with like catcalling and stuff. But over the time of the experience, they got more used to it, and they were never like approached, in an unsafe way. They were never touched by anyone. They get looks, and one of the people that I was with, Hannah, she walked every day to like in between my host family's house and hers, and we walked in the morning, and then we met in the middle and grabbed a taxi to share the price. But she never had a problem with that. All the host families are in safe neighborhoods, and it's really, there is an adjustment period, but everyone should be fine.
And what did you learn? How did you better yourself as a result of this program?
So I guess I learned most from the Ireland experience. If you put the two together, really just how much talking to the other side, just about how your day was, just any level of dialogue makes any conflict better. Paul Arthur talks about how he set up, in secret meetings between the two sides when they were technically in a period of discussion with the other side. But he set up those secret meetings just to talk over coffee or tea, just to open up that dialogue. And then the same for the Arab experience, how there really isn't any interaction between the two sides, at its fundamental level between like the day-to-day people. And if there was, then you get to see how, personable the other side is, and they're not, all terrorists or anything like that. Like, they're not, I don't know, just the ground level differences between the two sides aren't as great as the media makes it seem. And yeah, I mean, and then with Arabic, with the extended Arabic session, it is a lot more rigorous than the FIE stuff with Omar and Paul, but you learn a lot, and it's really fast. And I don't mean that to discourage anyone, but it is rigorous, and you do learn a lot because it's 5 hours a day of Arabic, and it can be difficult, and but definitely you learn so much, especially just after being there for a month already, sort of getting that conversational Arabic down, and then learning a little bit more of the grammar and the extended vocab that you learn in class. It's just tremendous experience.
But definitely manageable.
Yes, manageable. Basically my routine during the Arabic session was class starts at 8 a.m. It goes until about 2 because there's breaks in between each 50-minute session. And then I would stay there with, the group. We'd do homework for 2-3 hours. It varied based on what level you were in. And then we'd go out, downtown, or we'd go back to our homestays, or, meet with our Arabic language partner. That's one great part that I haven't said yet about the Arabic part or the FIE part is from the beginning when you arrive in Jordan, they can match you up with an Arabic language partner, which is someone who is taking classes from Ahmed East and in English. So that's what Ahmed East mostly does. You'll see a bunch of people coming in to take English classes, and that's what the photo is at the top of the slide there. That was my language partner, and we met 3-4 times a week just over coffee, and we just talked in Arabic, and then I talked to him in English, and we worked to help each other out. And then the other photos are from Kilmainham Jail, the Irish flag, and then the Bobby Sands hunger striker mural in Belfast, and then in the Wadi Rum Desert, the Bedouin tribe sort of takes you out in trucks and drives you around the desert, which is cool, and then camping in the Wadi Rum Desert out at night, looking at the stars and stuff.
Thanks, Evan.
Yeah.
So looking at some questions right now, just as a clarifier, if you don't know the Arabic culture, one of the reasons that Evan said he was placed as a male with a Christian family is if a Muslim family has women in the family who wear a hijab, the headscarf, then usually when they get home, they, as we all do, we relax and unwind, and they take off the hijab. Even though there may be men in the house, these are family men. They may be brothers, they may be their father, etc. They cannot take off their hijab if there is a non-family member. So it is quite typical that the men will be placed with a Christian family so that the Muslim women who have female homestay students are actually able to relax in their own home. Don't worry if Evan's comments about catcalling, etc. Amadist and FIE cover that extensively in both the pre-departure orientation before you even leave the US, and also the on-the-ground orientation that occurs when you arrive in in Amman in the first place. So this is the opportunity to go into the GoToWebinar panel and ask any questions. We have a question for Evan right off. So Evan, how has the experience throughout the Peace and Conflict program affected what you might like to do after you graduate?
So I was initially drawn to this program because of the Arabic language offer. I'm an economics major. Basically what I've found is that a career in, like, some of the people that I was with are like majoring in foreign policy or majoring in diplomacy. My school is much smaller and I don't have that, very in-depth option, but it sort of opened my eyes to taking more peace and conflict classes at school as well as political science classes. It hasn't affected my decision right after college. I've always been, wanting to go into a more business atmosphere, but I've also sort of kept my eyes out for, opportunities in the Peace Corps or the Fulbright scholarship. That's something that I'm looking towards applying to at the start of my senior year, because whether it's teaching English or doing some sort of research over there is definitely something that I'm interested in. I actually tried to get an internship in an Arabic-speaking country to further practice my Arabic, but it's kind of hard to find a broad internship, and I wasn't able to secure one. But so right now, in terms of the peace and conflict portion, it's just something, it hasn't affected like my career path particularly at the moment, but definitely having the experience in an Arab country speaking Arabic has definitely opened me to wanting to go back and further practice my Arabic and possibly secure some sort of job over there.
So we have another question, which I will take because I don't speak Arabic. Evan does. So the question is, I don't speak Arabic. How will I interact with my homestay family? So there's always someone in your homestay family who speaks English. So you shouldn't worry about anything. There's always one person who has pretty good English. But we've found over our 9 years of doing this program that even students who don't speak Arabic and who aren't taking even the beginner Arabic language courses end up with a decent level of conversational Arabic by the end of the program. When I was in Jordan in 2016, I met with a homestay family, and the mother didn't speak a word of English. And over the course of the hour, obviously she made tea. Very, very British, but also very Jordanian. And we sat and actually had a conversation without necessarily using words. And yes, I had one of the Amadist staff with me, but on the whole, we understood what we were saying to each other. So I wouldn't necessarily worry about not speaking Arabic. Evan, another question for you, and feel free, Julie, since you've also been to Jordan, to chime in. Evan, how much spending money did you take? Do you need? Is it paper money or credit cards accepted? And that's probably more so for the Jordanian piece than Ireland. Of course, the thing to remember as well is you're actually visiting 3 countries. So Dublin in the Republic Island uses the European euro, when you cross over to Derry and Belfast, you're in the United Kingdom, and so you'll be using the Great British Pound. And then when you go over to Amman in Jordan, you're using the Jordanian dinar. So you probably don't want a lot of paper money because you're going to be changing it all the time. But what was your experience, Evan?
I'll start with Ireland. We were sort of, as a group, we bonded together great. There were 9 of us, and 6 of us of the group were, we got really close. In Dublin specifically, we probably went over budget by a lot. We went out every day, to the bar, to the pubs and stuff, so I would caution you all to sort of budget yourself, at least in Dublin, because it's probably the most fun city I've ever been to. You don't get as many meals included in Dublin. And then in Jordan, you get all your meals. At least I did. And everyone's supposed to get all their meals from their host family, and the Amity staff are always asking you, everything's good, and they're over eager to help you with stuff. You don't need as much spending money in Jordan because it's a lot cheaper there, as long as you're going to the right spots. So like King Talal Street downtown is where like the market is, and everything is like 2 dinars, which is like $3. So spending money in Jordan isn't as much. I couldn't give you an exact figure of how much I spent, but it's not. It shouldn't be a problem for you. And you do get, I don't remember exactly how much, but I think it's 100 dinars from the start as a stipend for transportation. So that should cover most of your taxi fares while you're there.
And Julie, your experience from the Middle East with credit cards and using plastic, and the other question we always have about our students in Dublin, American Express.
Yeah. I mean, it is variable. You want to make sure you have options. I mean, if you do have an American Express as the main credit card you like to use, you won't always have it accepted, whether that's Dublin, Northern Ireland, or Amman. So you want to make sure that you would have a MasterCard or Visa as well. When it comes to the local currency, because again, it's always good to have, and when Evan's talking about downtown and the markets, if you're buying something that's only a couple dinar, you're going to need cash. But of course, the ATMs, if you put your card in, it's going to come out in the local currency. I think the important thing always, no matter where you're going abroad, is to check with your bank before you go. Make sure that they know where you're going, so your cards don't get blocked, and that you understand the charges, and figure out what the most economical way is of managing your money.
I certainly found when I was in Jordan in 2016 that it was more so a cash-based society. Many of the restaurants did take, as Julie said, Visa and MasterCard, but I also went to an ATM, put in an American debit card, and out came Jordanian dinar. So it is quite a modern technological country, so you shouldn't necessarily have worries that way. Question from Ashley. Do you have to do a lot of bartering in Jordan? You don't have to. I'm sure the market traders would love for you to pay the full price that they start off with. I don't enjoy it. I don't think I'm a good barterer. But we do have actually an amazing Arabic rug that we got when we were in Jordan, coupled with multiple other things that they just kept throwing in. So think of it more so as a game than it is a task. kind of have an idea how much you want to spend already.
Can I talk on that as well?
Sure.
So one thing is it depends on which person you get and what you're trying to buy. If it's, buying a pair of sunglasses for 2 dinar, you can just pay the 2 dinar. But we had someone buy a scarf for 35 dinar, which is a complete, rip-off. It should be 6 dinar. And just, I would caution, I personally enjoy bartering. I did it a lot. I think it's kind of fun. But the Amity staff are with you almost everywhere you go. And you have your burner phone. So what I would caution you to do is whenever you aren't sure about something, always call Omar. Not Omar the teacher, but Omar the student life person there who's just going to be super helpful for you. And call him and he'll tell you if it's a fair price. And that's what I'd caution you to do.
Couple of last questions, and I want to be cognizant of time as well. Do we need to get a student visa? Louise was asking that. As always, that depends. So if you have a US passport, you will not need a visa for your time in Ireland and for your time in Northern Ireland in the United Kingdom. So it depends on what passport you are carrying. We will work with you, Amethyst will work with you and get you specific information once you've completed the application process. Pretty much everyone will need a visa to get into Jordan. You can apply in advance, or if you want to, you can just get it at the airport. And that's typically what the vast majority of our students do, is they land in Queen Alia Airport in Amman, and as you're going through customs and you get the stamp in your passport, then you just pay that fee while you're there. A lot of that information will be provided once you're admitted into the program. And then finally, a question, the social makeup of the program, are participants mostly Americans? I would say yes. I'm going to defer to Julie. I mean, I know we have had non-Americans, but I think everyone has been at an American university. Is that correct?
Yeah, that is correct. Yes, and that's kind of really for all FIE's programs. I mean, it's this wonderful phenomenon that you get students who are studying, from other countries studying in the United States that then go abroad, and that can be the case. Or we'll often have people who are dual passport holders that might have a heritage interest, in either. They hold an Irish passport as well as an American passport, or they hold, an Iraqi passport as well as an American passport, that sort of thing, so that they have that kind of interest. But as Grahaeme said, yeah, we've never had someone who isn't attending a U.S. university, and the vast majority have been, they're themselves American citizens. So, but there's a lot of diversity, I guess is what I'm trying to say, in the group. And obviously it's going to be, a small enough group that you're going to have the opportunity, kind of without question, to talk to locals. Obviously, you're going to have your host family and sort of get a lot of variety in terms of who you're interacting with.
And just a little piece on that diversity as well. While again, the majority of students are traditional aged U.S. undergraduates, we also have this program is open to graduate students. And so we do, on occasion, have some students who may be in a master's level program. This program especially attracts what I would call, because I was one of them, a non-traditional aged student. And so it is not unusual in that cohort of students to have somebody who's maybe 25, 28, a little bit older. So there is that sort of diversity, but again, the vast majority students at a U.S. higher education institution. If you haven't done so already, there is a very short website link on the screen there. Please go to tinyurl.com/peace FIE. Just put in your name, email address, etc. That will make sure that you're getting information, reminders about scholarship deadlines coming up next Friday, reminder about the application deadline, etc. So please, if you're not already getting email information, then please sign up tinyurl.com/peace FIE. So next steps, keep asking questions. Talk to your campus academic advisor. Make sure that the courses will get you credit back on your home campus. We have course outlines available on the website, so you can share those with your academic advisor. You should be able to know exactly what the credit is coming back to your home campus. Talk to your study abroad staff, even if some campuses do not recognize, approve, directly advise summer programs, I would urge you still to have a conversation with your study abroad staff. Talk to your family. Don't sort of spring this upon them. I have spoken to parents before, so please feel free if your family are kind of saying, absolutely not, you are not going to the Middle East. Please get them in touch with me and I can have a conversation with them as someone who has been on this program and been to Jordan. Remember that February 15th deadline for the FIE scholarship, and remember that it's midnight London time. Remember the March 15th deadline to apply for the program. You need to apply through the FIE website. You may also need to apply through your home campus. So again, have that conversation with your campus study abroad staff. Talk to your financial aid advisor and study abroad staff about financial aid and other scholarships that are available. Once you're admitted into the program, you will start getting multiple emails. Make sure that you participate in the FIE and Amethyst pre-departure orientations. There will also be a similar session to this that is about 20-30 minutes. Once you have watched all of the online orientations, this would be a live version where you can ask FIE and Amethyst questions in real time. And then again, keep asking questions. Don't hesitate to contact me. As I said, I'm on Central Time. My phone number is there. My email account is there. Remember those deadlines: next Friday and then a month later, March 15th. If we have no other questions coming in, then I will thank you for participating. Thank you for the questions that you submitted through the chat function. And then special thanks to Evan and to Julie for participating.
Thanks, Grahaeme. It's been great.
Have fun on the program.
Bye.